Hi, everyone. John Michael Coppola here, and welcome to the Chicago Theater Makers Podcast, where we chat with the actors, directors, choreographers, designers, producers, music directors, lyricists, playwrights, and all the artists who make the Chicago area theaters come alive. We're so excited to have you here with us today. But before we get started, we just want to remind you to please like, subscribe to, and share this podcast with your friends and colleagues who you think would appreciate the conversations we're having. We'd be so grateful for your support in this way so we can continue to bring these stories for years to come. Thanks again for being here, and now, curtain up on today's episode. Today's guests are from the upcoming production of Miracle at Century High School, a new Christmas musical comedy being produced for the second year in a row at Chicago's Annoyance Theater. Writer and lyricist Anthony Cusumano has been writing, performing, directing, and producing comedy since 2017 and is a former member of Chicago's famed Second City. While he remains strictly behind the scenes for this production, you can find him doing stand-up throughout Chicago and online at Anthony Cusumano Comedy and DNA Sketch Show. Aiden Tappert, who plays Teddy in the production, is a writer, actor, and director who received his BFA from the University of Utah. He is also a co-writer of the original dark comedy titled A Night to Dismember. But today, of course, they're on the show to chat about Miracle at Century High School, running every Saturday at 7:30 from November 29th until December 13th. For tickets, please visit theannoyance.com. You can also find a link for the tickets in our show notes. I hope you enjoy my conversation with Anthony Cusumano and Aiden Tappert. Now let's go to the top of the show. Hi, Anthony. Hi, Aiden. How you both doing today?
Good.
Doing very well. Thanks for having us.
Excellent. My pleasure. Thanks for joining me here on the podcast. So, as you both may know, we always start our podcast the same way, and that is for me to ask our guests to please tell our listeners the following. First, where you were born, where you grew up. Next, a little bit about your background and your training. And finally, of course, your first theater experience. And since you're both an A name, we're going to still go alphabetically. So Aiden, you'd be first in that regard.
Okay, sounds good. So I'm Aiden Tappert. I'm originally from a small town called Hood River, Oregon. That's where I grew up. And kind of my background in theater and the performing arts. One, I kind of have this weird familial legacy. Both my parents were big community theater people when they met in Oregon, and so the kind of running joke is it's always been in the family. And then my mom and her side of the family also were dance teachers for a long time.
Oh, wow.
So I sort of always grew up around the performing arts. But me, myself, I actually never really wanted to perform for a long time. I was super, super shy. Was absolutely adamant that I was not going to be on stage. I hated doing it. I did not want it at all. So a lot of my early experience was writing. Really, that was kind of where I got my first creative start. That was the thing that really drew me in. I was that kid who tried to write novels when they were 12, right? Like very, very much had big dreams and was just trying desperately to create anything I could.
Fantastic.
And it wasn't until high school that I ended up kind of accidentally stumbling into theater. I took it as a sort of accidental elective for my freshman year because I needed to fill a slot. And I said, well, I know some of my parents did it and might as well give it a try.
Yeah.
And I fell in love, as I think is the story of most people. But
yeah,
it was just magical to be on there, and I realized how much storytelling was so important to me as a young writer, and then realizing that that's really what I was drawn to constantly through, whether it was music or writing or acting. That was the thing. That was the thing that just kept pulling me towards it, and so I finally made the leap once I had to figure out what I was going to do with the rest of my life, to jump in and say, okay, I'm going to give it a shot. And so I went to the University of Utah and graduated in 2023 with my degree in a BFA in theater performance.
And what brought you to Chicago?
Yeah, so I mean, really, it was a similar situation to graduating high school. It was okay, what's next? And a lot of the conversation is around sort of the big three cities, right? Like LA, New York, Chicago.
Yeah.
I just started kind of looking into all these places and asking myself what I wanted to do. And Chicago for me really stood out because of its theater scene, because so much of it is so weird and just it's so creative. And that was really what I loved doing. I loved devised theater, and I loved making my own work. And so Chicago just sort of stood out as like, well, that's the city where all the weird people go, and those are the kind of people I want to be working with.
I've heard Chicago described in many, many ways. I think you're the first person to ever describe it as weird, but that's not incorrect either, which is also interesting.
It comes from a place of love, right?
Yes.
It is not weird. I am weird.
It's weird.
These were my people.
Right. It's weird to the outside world. To the inside world.
Yeah.
Yes. We all understand each other for sure. Yeah. All right, Anthony, you're up. Tell us a little bit about your background, where you were from, and finished off with your first theater experience.
Yeah,
Which, Aiden,
so,
you didn't give us your first theater experience. We'll go back to you. We'll get to Anthony first.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, so I'm Anthony Cusumano. I was born in South Carolina, but grew up in the Northern Virginia area. Came to Chicago in 2016. That's where I became weird. And just similar to Aiden, I was a very, very shy kid growing up. Theater, performance, last thing on my mind. I was the kid that would, during recess, take a little, couple sheets of paper, draw a story. But my first theater experience actually did come in elementary school. My sister was a big theater person. She loved Annie, one of her dreams growing up. She didn't quite realize it, but she wanted to play Annie on Broadway. But she had to settle for playing Annie in the school talent show when she was in, I believe, 3rd or 4th grade. And I was 3 years younger, and she bought me a Star Wars action figure as a bribe to get me to play Sandy on stage with her in the talent show.
I love it.
So I just crawled up on all fours. I had dog ears. I had a little outfit.
Aww.
And definitely, the Star Wars figure was great, but the taunts of my classmates, I don't know that it was quite worth the trade-off, but didn't quite land the theater passion for me, except that a few years later, getting into improv when I was in Northern Virginia, and I'm sure we'll talk more about that a little bit later,
Yeah.
But that was something that totally just changed my whole outlook, made me a lot less shy, a little more outgoing.
Yeah.
And so theaters kind of became a natural evolution, and coming out to Chicago, it's been, nonstop since then.
Now, you said you were Sandy in the talent show, and a few years later, you started improv. How many years later really was it?
Ooh, boy.
5th grade,
honestly,
6th grade? No, I'm kidding.
I wish I'd started improv at that age. Kids, honestly, are the best improvisers. I've done improv camps, and they're so unfiltered. But no, it was actually after college, like maybe a year or two after college, that I finally took the plunge.
I mean, and of course, Chicago is the greatest improv town in the world, so it's natural reason why you stopped here and stayed here.
Yes.
So, Aiden, now you did say you did theater and you fell in love, but what was that show?
Yes, so it was Taming of the Shrew.
Oh wow,
Taming
it's a
of the
big
Shrew,
one.
I was Christopher Fly.
Wow.
So it was kind of an interesting first role.
Yeah.
Really stepping into it. I did a lot of Shakespearean ad libs from the side, but it was so much fun. I mean, it's that intoxicating. You do your first show and you go, oh my god,
Yeah,
that was incredible. Like I have to do it again, and
Yeah.
there's no turning back.
that's amazing. Yeah, I'm not going to get into my son's history, but for years he was the same way. Didn't want to perform. He was a percussionist in the school band, and then one year he decided he wanted to audition for the school musical, which was School of Rock, which was a family favorite movie and Broadway show. And because he played drums, he wound up auditioning for the role of Freddie, got the role of Freddie, which is the drummer in the show, and loved it, and wound up doing the musical the following year. They did the prom, and he played a small ensemble role in there with a couple of features. And he was going to go to college for business, and now he decided he wanted to pivot. So he's doing arts administration with its emphasis in stage management now. So we're really proud of him, and glad, even though my wife and I were professional performers all of our lives, Broadway singers or dancers, we never pushed him. We figured he'll either come to it on his own or he never will. And he did come to it on his own. And we're so excited for him. And he's really enjoying his experience at college doing it. Yeah. So Aiden, you said you had a big, obviously entertainment family, the dance teachers and the community theater. Is there any one special person that was like the one inspiration in your life? And Anthony, I'm going to ask you the same thing, but I'm pivoting to Aiden first because he mentioned his family was so into the arts as a kid.
Yeah, funnily enough, and this might make my family mad, I don't think the person that comes to mind was not immediate family, but it was kind of related in that sense. But obviously, I grew up around it. But really, it was as we mentioned in our exchange before there's this summer camp that is a big part of my life called Young Musicians and Artists out in Oregon. But the person that comes to mind when I think of like one of the most influential people in my life was actually my writing mentor from that camp, the woman who ran the program when I started. We really just ended up having a very close connection because she basically also watched me grow up. I started going to this camp when I was like 11 years old.
Yeah.
But I mean, she was so influential to me on one sort of what it means to be an artist. Because I think especially when I was a kid, like so much of my goal was to finish projects, right? I wanted to do a bunch of things. But she really forced me, one, to expand my artistic worldview of what I liked to write and what I liked to explore. And really pushed me to develop my own voice as an artist. That was really a lot of what she ended up talking to me about, was like about how to develop that authorial voice. And I feel like that has stuck with me and has been a big part of really any creative pursuit I continue down to this day.
That's cool. And we're going to talk about your experience with the summer camp a bit later. But Anthony, let us know who is the most influential person, or maybe you have a few people who are influential in your life and your journey towards the arts.
I think family-wise, obviously my sister and my mother are both big Broadway fans, but oddly enough, I would say my dad was the biggest in terms of, because comedy is just my big passion. And so my dad, to his chagrin, exposed me and my sister to a lot of shows and movies that we were probably way too young to really not just appreciate, but actually understand. It's such a, like, I remember getting in trouble in first grade for doing a Beavis and Butthead impression. And my comedy origin story really is he showed me Tommy Boy in second grade. Every day I would ask my classmates, hey, like, you gotta see Tommy Boy. Like, have you seen it yet? Finally, some kid says that he's seen it. And for the next 6 months, every day I do like this fat guy in little coat routine. And I still remember being devastated that day. My mom was like, you know what? It's warm enough. We don't need a coat anymore. I was like, no, my identity, like, you're taking it away. But then I was like, oh, like, I need to create humor on my own. I can have my own jokes, have my own material.
Yeah.
And then fast forward to about 10 years later, I had a teacher in high school. I took a TV production class. His name was Mr. Peacock. And he was the prototypical, like, just life-changing teacher of just someone so supportive who saw something in me. And like, anytime I think of him, I almost like, it's like that Daniel Stern Wonder Years narration in my mind, because he was just such a great person, great influence. And having those kind of, that support at that young age when I was, as I mentioned, very shy and had a lot of doubt about, I knew what I was passionate about, but I doubted my ability to do it. And having someone like Mr. Peacock along the way saying, hey, like, why don't we read your script that you wrote, like, as a class? Those kind of moments that just really give you such confidence and encouragement to keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, I bet that meant a lot to you. They would have you share that material with the class. Now, talk to us about how you found your way into improv, because of course, mimicry of a movie is one thing, and that could be fun, but improv is a totally different animal. So, give us a little bit of insight about how you found that love.
Yeah, well, as we mentioned earlier, very shy, had no interest in ever being on stage, but comedy writing was my big passion. My dream job was, and still probably is, to write for SNL. And I just had this feeling one day, and like, I think it would probably help me as a writer if I had some experience with performing. And I'm going to sign up for one level A class. That is it. I'm going to do it and get it out of my system, just to internalize what it's like to be on stage. And probably, I think you can predict the story from there. About 3 weeks in, I just loved my classmates, loved what I was doing, loved just that feeling of being playful for the first time since I was a young kid.
Yeah.
And it really wasn't like an overnight change, but I started noticing, like I'm more comfortable having conversations with people. These jokes that are kind of in my internal monologue, I will share them now. And yeah, maybe I'm not going to get 100% success rate, but 75% still passing.
Yeah.
So it just really, and I like to say that I kind of have a love-hate thing with improv, because even after all these years, I still don't feel 100% comfortable with it. I do like the safety net of having a script or, doing sketch comedy or stand-up, but there's no feeling like when you're on stage and just something spur of the moment gets a big laugh.
Yeah.
And I always lament that probably the biggest laugh I ever got was with two 10-year-old kids at that summer camp. And I'm like, no, like that, the funniest thing I've ever said in my entire life, I was only witnessed by these two kids, but it was still a great moment. I remember it all. It's one of those things, and any improv thing, I could repeat it, but it's not going to make any sense right now.
Sure.
But I assure you, it got laughs from Evan and Peter.
Well, hey, your best audience can come at any age, really. I mean,
exactly.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Comedy has no age limit. Of course not.
Absolutely not.
So you're both actors, writers, directors. For each of you, and we'll continue with you, Anthony, which role do you prefer the best and why?
I definitely feel most comfortable as a writer. There is a little bit of anxiety getting on stage, but again, as I said, when you're up there and you're getting laughs, like it's the greatest feeling in the world. It's the greatest high.
Nothing better.
But I think I like having the time to really perfect my thoughts and get things out there in the proper way. And there are certain avenues where I'm like, okay, I write this with myself in mind. I'm the only person who I feel like can pull this off, not to be arrogant, but the only person that can pull this off the way it is in my head right now is me, which makes sense. So I love doing sketch shows. I'm hoping maybe next year to maybe make a return to the stage doing a sketch show, because it's been probably about 6 or 7 years since I've done one, and that would be a lot of fun to get back into that.
Now, would that be one that you'd write, or you're just finding a resource for you to join and take up with?
When I've done sketch shows in the past, I've written probably about half the sketches and then had other contributors. So we'll do a little mix. But definitely I've spent some time this weekend brainstorming, and I always have way too many projects and ideas going on, but I'm like, okay, this is New Year's resolution. It's almost here, that time.
Mm-hmm.
So let's make a sketch show a priority. So yeah, like I do love them all, but I really have found that writing is the one that fuels me the most. And directing, actually, the first run of Miracle last year was my first time really directing anything in that fashion. And I remember coming in very reluctant, very nervous, and the incredible cast that I worked with, including Aiden, made it such a pleasure and made it such a warm and engaging experience that I realized, okay, this is something that I feel capable of doing as well. So thanks to them for giving me confidence in a new area, but writing's always been my first love and probably gonna be my biggest love.
Excellent. How about you, Aiden?
Yeah, I mean, this is a hard question, right? Like, which one do you prefer? Why do you choose?
I know
one
it's
over
like
the
which
other?
was your favorite child, right?
Right, exactly. Like I do, I'm a big believer in sort of that idea of being a holistic artist, right? Like I want to bring in everything that I am. But I think it is really torn for me between like the writing and the acting, only because the writing has such a personal meaning to me. Like it's very important to me in my life, but the acting side of it is really where I got so much joy. In my young life that I don't think I can kind of I can forget about it, so I think I have to go acting, right? Like the being on stage is like the most alive I feel, right? Like I'm definitely in that camp of creators.
Yeah, for sure. Now, speaking about creative, you've been the creative producer for a while at Young Musicians and Artists that you mentioned earlier.
Yes,
Tell us a bit about that
yeah.
experience and that journey from being a kid and then being a staff member to your current day responsibilities there.
Absolutely. So yeah, yes, like I said, I started very, very young. Again, one of these funny accidental things. The long story short is, as aside from being a dance teacher, my mother is also a nurse. She was doing kind of, was dance teacher for a while, became a nurse. But that all ended up becoming that this summer camp that she went to as a kid asked her to come back as the camp nurse because she had the connection. They said, "Oh, do you want to come and work with us?" So when she accepted the job, I, being the only one of my siblings who was old enough to attend, was the only one to go. And at first, I hated it. I actually really did not like it. I was a very young kid, and at the time, I hated poetry. I've come to love it, but that was what that writing mentor was focused on with that group, and I was miserable until I discovered the hero's journey, right? Joseph Campbell, and that sort of changed everything for me, and I fell in love with writing there, and continued every year going to this camp, eventually becoming a camp counselor, kind of the traditional summer camp counselor, and then yeah, just about I want to say right before COVID, and then obviously we had some break in the middle there, but probably around 2019, 2020, I asked really to kind of expand my role at camp, and what we ended up calling this sort of production coordination or creative producer, really. So a lot of what I do is I do a little bit of teaching. I get to teach sort of a kind of ensemble building masterclass with the theater students, as well as getting to go into the creative writing students and just really kind of doing mini master classes in that sense of just I get to sometimes pick a topic that I'm interested and passionate about and get to share it with them. I often bring in a lot of theater adjacent techniques, again in that kind of quest for this holistic artist archetype of bringing in these other disciplines, because that was very important to me, and actually sort of my operating statement that I used to get the job in the first place was this sort of like, I want to bring cross collaboration into the forefront for this camp. And we've been, I would say, at least moderately successful. I'd like to say we've been very successful. We've started, doing more devised work at the camp, getting to bring a bunch of these disparate students from different disciplines together and giving them, an hour and a half in the morning and say, okay, come up with a 5-minute piece for us. And it had, give them the rough guidelines and let them create. And that's really been the thing that keeps me coming back, is that that fulfillment as a teacher as well. Getting to sort of fulfill a similar role that I had in my life for new students now has been incredibly fulfilling, and it's also been really good just to develop my own skills as a creative and as a director and as a teacher. So it's really just been an incredible experience, and I hope to keep working there as long as I can.
And so you go back every summer to Portland to do this?
Yes. Every summer. Yeah, pretty much. It's about 4 weeks in June, July. Yeah.
How wonderful. What a nice full circle moment for you.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you have any memorable experiences from your entire journey there, from either when you were a kid or even as in your current role?
Okay, I kind of have two. They're quick. So one is the personal one for me is, of course, this writing mentor has been very important. But I distinctly remember the summer. It's still on my bookshelf out in my living room. It's like my own personal artifact. She gave me this like old ratty copy of used copy of Gabriel Garcia Marquez's 100 Years of Solitude. Because I had expressed some minor interest in that sort of magical realism genre. And she gave me this copy at the very end of camp, and she wrote this note. I don't have it verbatim, but it was just, it basically was about walking your own path as an artist, and that the reason you're an artist is not to find answers, but to ask questions. And so that, again, was one of those moments that felt like it just completely shifted the trajectory of my life, and was just so important to me. And in a similar vein, I just recently, kind of within this last year, we just kind of hit the students that I have been working with since I took on this kind of creative producer role, just sort of aged out. So I had my sort of first graduating class, so to speak, which is just really, really incredible because, getting to talk to these kids who you knew when they were like 12 and now who are becoming young adults, and seeing how much they've grown. And so I ended up getting a number of letters this last year that were just from those students, which was, again, these really incredible, heartfelt things just about being here. And so much of the camp we talk about, like those 2 weeks of the session are like our real home, right?
Yeah.
The rest of the world is so complicated and messy and frustrating. Mm-hmm. But for these few weeks, we get to be our true creative selves. And that was what was reflected in the letters. And so that was a big win for me of going like, yeah, I managed to fulfill the cycle, right? I was able to take on the role.
How bittersweet. You see these kids grow up and then they leave.
Exactly. It's yeah. So I think bittersweet is exactly what it is. Like you're so excited for them. You're excited to see who they'll become.
Yeah.
But you know that kind of your time with them is coming to a close, and it's in the same vein as like life is built around its limited capacity. I think it's the same thing with these experiences, right? That we had only a limited time together, and we made the most of it, and it was incredible.
Amazing. Thanks so much for sharing that. So now, Anthony, I want to, of course, talk about Miracle at Century High School, which is one of the reasons why we're on the podcast today. Tell us a little bit about the premise of the show. I honestly don't know much about it other than your little pitch to me to be on the podcast. So really, we'd love to hear about what it's about.
Yes. So Miracle at Century High School is the story of a high school drama teacher who is tasked with creating an award-winning Christmas show to save his scandal-plagued high school's reputation as well as his job.
Okay.
So the principal comes to him and says, hey, this is what you have to do. Our school is getting bad news left and right. And there are just along the way visits from the ghost of Charles Dickens. This year we've introduced some cameos from Sarah Bareilles, who is what happened with that is that the focus of the show is the Jimmy Awards, which is the high school equivalent of the Tonys. Uh-huh. And about 3 weeks after our run last year, they announced that Sarah Bareilles was teaming up with them for a specific award. I think it's for like Southern California students or something like that.
Okay.
And as Aiden has come to learn over the last couple of months, I am a diehard Sarah Bareilles fan. And my goal, fingers crossed, we haven't gotten it yet, but we would love to have her be aware of the show and maybe make a message on social media. I did reach out to her publicist, and scheduling conflicts, she can't take advantage of our complimentary ticket offer. But aside from that, there's a cast of students who are participating in the show within the show, and they all have different motivations for why they're doing this. One of them he's the overachiever. He's got every extracurricular under his belt, and so he's trying to add to his Harvard application. We have a student who is there because his longtime crush, he's a senior. This is his last chance to impress her. We have the two sisters who are duking it out for the best role. And Aiden plays Teddy, who is the perpetual underdog, just the most lovable character who just can't catch a break. Every single year, Teddy is cast as a tree. And... And so he is trying desperately to get a chance to prove himself. And if you come out and see Miracle at Century High School this November and December, you'll find out Teddy and the rest of the gang's fate.
Yeah, no spoilers. No spoilers here on the podcast. Yeah. But I got to ask, I mean, this sounds like a laugh riot, and you've got all those great archetypes in the show. What in the world gave you the idea for this piece?
So it really was a lot of reverse engineering. I didn't have quite the idea for the show itself. What my idea was, maybe a little bit cynical, you could say, but I thought, okay, if I write a Christmas musical, it's easy to market. Everybody is familiar with Christmas musicals. They get an audience, and you could redo this every year, and we're bringing this back. This is probably the first time really that I've ever done a project where I'm revisiting it. Like, usually I'm very much like, all right, like, that was awesome.
Yeah.
On to the next one. But we really felt strongly about Miracle. We had a great run last year and felt like, okay, we can make this bigger and better. And so, yeah, it's been a blast to bring back some of our cast from last year and incorporate some new folks. And just from the rehearsal process this year, I'm amazed. We open in about little under 3 weeks, but I can't wait to see the reaction from people who saw it last year and come back, because it's elevated in every category. And so, yeah, it's going to be a blast.
So I guess I didn't realize this is a musical. Who is there? Composer and lyricist, or are you using pre-existing songs?
So I wrote the lyrics, but last year we had Mike Kelly, who wrote about a dozen or so amazing songs that you'll get to hear again. And this year we have some new compositions by Laura Lasher and Josh Lasher.
Oh my gosh. I really hope I get a chance to see this. My schedule gets so busy at the end of November and December, but this sounds like such a blast. And I'm super excited to try and make it. So I'm curious what future plans you have for it. I mean, do you want to just keep it in the local area each year? Do you want to try and expand it out, have multiple companies touring across the country? What are your goals?
I mean, hey, the bigger the better, the more the merrier. I think the ultimate dream for me would be to have a high school itself do a run of Miracle at Century High School.
Yes.
And I reached out to all the Century High schools I could find across the country. I reached out to the principals and was like, hey, like, we're doing this. We'll let you do it for free. No takers this year, but...
That is genius. You actually reach out to high schools called Century High School?
Yep.
How many are there?
I think last count there were about 6 or 7 throughout the country.
And nobody took you up on it?
None of them, not yet.
I have to have, even though they're not called Century High Schools, I highly advocate that you reach out to like either Niles North or Niles West next year, because their theater departments are fantastic. And I speak of it from a parent's perspective. My kid matriculated through Niles North, and we're actually having Megan Baskin, who's the theater arts teacher and director, on the podcast in a few weeks as well. I interviewed her a few weeks back.
Excellent.
So I will get you the direct contact because I think, yes, absolutely try and get a Century High School to do it. But if you want to just find a willing high school, I can get you the name of at least 2 right here in the area for sure.
That would be incredible.
Of course, that's the next.
I think, yeah. Of course, yeah. And of course, we're so happy to keep running it ourselves. And I definitely, Aiden and I have half jokingly talked about some sequel ideas. Teddy Goes to Hollywood.
High School Musical, High School Musical 2, High School Musical 3.
High School Musical, the series, the musical, the series.
Sharpay's Revenge or whatever it was called. I mean, it's unending. Like, God, it's fantastic.
We have our own MCU, the Miracle Cinematic Universe, so it's going to expand. There's so many projects to come from this.
Oh my God, I love it. So quickly before we forget, tell us where the show opens. Tell people how they can get tickets.
Yes. So the show opens on Saturday, November 29th. We run on Saturdays through December 20th at 7:30 p.m. We also have a Sunday, December 7th show at 4 p.m. And tickets are available at theannoyance.com. And I'm hopefully on social media we'll be able to post the direct link so that listeners can get their tickets in order.
So it's being produced at the Annoyance Theater?
Correct.
And where's that space?
That is right off the Belmont red, purple, brown line stop.
Okay.
Belmont and Clark.
Okay, cool. Hey, any advice that you would give young, aspiring theater makers? Anthony, why don't we start with you?
I think the big advice, it goes for anyone interested in theater, but just in general, anything, say yes. Say yes to opportunities. Say yes and.
Yes and.
If you want to go for the improv factor.
Yep.
But I have just, in the last year, 2 years, 5 years, started embracing, opportunities that come along. And my wife always tells me that I do too much, she's probably right. But, you just never know what you're going to learn, who you're going to meet from any opportunity that arises. So if you say yes to other people's offers, say yes to yourself and what you think are crazy little ideas that can't amount to anything. Like Miracle really, if I had known the typical process of how long it takes to run a musical, I probably would have psyched myself out and not done it. The Google Doc that I created, which was called My Christmas or Halloween Musical, was created on January 4th of 2024, and our opening night was 11 months to the date after that.
Wow.
So as long as you give in to your crazy little desires and dreams, a lot of stuff can get pulled off.
That's not a long time to put on a musical. I'm sure any professional writer, composer, lyricist is going to tell you that is like warp speed. Dude,
the last show we did last year, someone came up to me and was like, I know someone who wrote a musical and it took them like 3 years or 5 years.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm glad I didn't know that because I probably would have stopped.
Right?
Ignorance is bliss.
Ignorance is bliss. That's the one I'm looking for. Yeah.
Yep.
Congratulations to you.
Very much the case for Miracle.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah. And Aiden, how about you? What advice would you like to offer our listeners?
Yeah, I think it is very similar to the vein, but for me, again, this idea, like, work with as many different kinds of artists as you possibly can.
Oh, sure.
You'll learn so much from these other disciplines, and they'll just feed back into your own pursuits. And so, yeah, getting as much experience with other forms, I think, is so valuable for people who are wanting to get their start in this field. Is just figure out what's out there and find what you love and find all of the things you love, not just the one thing you love.
Yes, find them early, find them often. As we like to say here in Chicago, although usually that sentiment is around voting. Vote early, vote often. But we should do all the things early and often. And before we wrap up, any final thoughts? Anything you wish we had covered?
I think this was a fantastic conversation. Thank you so much for having us on here. And
my pleasure.
I'll just do the plug again.
Yes.
Miracle at Century High School, Saturdays, November 29th through December 20th, and Sunday, December 7th. We are so excited about this show. We had a great run last year. I think it's going to be even better this year. So please come on out and see it.
And one more time, they can get their tickets where?
TheAnnoyance.com.
TheAnnoyance.com. Excellent. And there will be a link to the tickets in our show notes. So if for some reason you're having a hard time finding the website, just go ahead to our show notes and click through, and you'll be able to get your tickets there. Aiden, Anthony, thanks so much for joining me. I really had a great time chatting with you both.
Thank you so much, John.
Thank you so much.
You bet. Thanks for joining us at the Chicago Theater Makers Podcast. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. The Chicago Theater Makers Podcast is a production of Spirit Art LLC, and our podcast theme music is by Paul Langford. If you or someone you know would like to be a guest on the podcast, please drop us a note at our website, ChiTheaterMakersPodcast.com. That's ChiTheater, makers with an S, podcast.com. We hope you enjoyed spending time with us as much as we enjoyed spending it with you, and we'll see you on the board soon.